G'day Virtual Pilots, it's Requiem. Here we're going to look at the Yak-9T. Starting out on the outside of the wing, you have a mechanical landing gear indicator, so if you can see it, that means your landing gear is down and locked. There's the fuel gauge on the wing there, there's one on each side. There's some lighting switches, got the cockpit lighting there, and then the second switch from the left, that's going to be your navigation lights. On the left side of the seat, that's your tail wheel control. There's your flaps control, you can only fully extend or retract the flaps. This control is your throttle, and next to that the other yellow one's going to be your RPM control, so pulling it back is going to lower your RPM and forward is going to increase it. The blue and yellow one's going to be your mixture control. It's going to backwards because aft is going to be rich and forward is going to be leaning. There's your supercharger control. You'll switch to the second stage around 2,200 meters. There's your fuel tank selector. Magnetos. The switch to the right there is the optional landing light. Then is the landing gear indicator lights with the Yak-9 comparison. The black wheel is your pitch trim. And there's the oxygen equipment. Normally you've got an iron sight as default, and you can choose a reflector sight optionally. There's your altimeter, magnetic compass, the clock, airspeed indicator, turn and bank indicator, and the vertical speed indicator. Coming underneath, that's your manifold pressure, the tachometer, an oil temperature with split oil and fuel pressure gauges, and then underneath is the RPK homing indicator. On the right, you've got the water temperature, ammunition counter for the big cannon, as well as air pressure and the comparison for the Yak-9. The brown wheel there controls the oil radiator, so you can open and close that. And just to the left of that is going to be the radio. And then coming over to the right, the green wheel controls the water radiator, so you can open and close that as needed. And then just behind that, that's the RPK frequency control. Start the Yak-9T and the Yak-9 straightforward, just get the mixture to rich. You can crack the throttle open an inch if you want. Propeller, you can put that fully forward. Oil and water radiators, adjust them as required depending on the temperature outside and if you're doing a cold start or not. Then you press E, and the engine's going to go through the startup sequence. Then we'll look at the pilot's notes for the Yak-9 and Yak-9T. So now the engine started, I don't really have to worry about taxiing as I've put the airplane on a field, so we can just look at how to take off. So my table is already locked, my flaps are up, canopy, we're going to close that in a sec. The mixture is already rich, propeller is already fully forward. The oil and water radiators, I'll leave them where they are. Then we're going to go full throttle, and we're going to rotate around 180 kilometers per hour, with the best climb at about 260, 270 kilometers per hour. So we're pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to increase the throttle to full, and we'll start rolling. Going to need to use some left rudder to keep yourself straight with this. And just start gaining more airspeed, a bit of forward pressure, get that tail off the ground. Keep it level there, and then once we hit around 180 kilometers per hour, just add some back pressure and rotate. Now we're getting the positive rate, so we can get the gear up. And we maintain a best climb around 260, 270 kilometers per hour on the way out. And you can keep that pretty close to the maximum performance without any issues. Since we're seeing the pattern, I'm going to make that left turn, and we'll look at how to land the Yak-9. Mixture is going to stay on rich, the tail wheel is going to remain locked. Airspeed, we get below about 320, and that's when you extend the landing gear. Get that drag going, start slowing down, get the propeller all the way to full. Oil and water radiators, will send those if required based on the temperatures. and by the end of downwind you should be below 250 kilometers per hour, and you can extend the flaps. During the base to final turn, you'll slow down to around 200 kilometers per hour, so you won't really need too much power in for this approach. Alright, so I'm established on downwind at the height I want. It's going to be around 1,000 meters above the ground. So I'm looking to be just over 250 or so, because that keeps me below that 320 limit on the gear. We're at midfield, we'll drop the landing gear here, get that drag going. So as we start approaching the end of downwind, we'll be below 250 kilometers an hour, and that's the point at which we can drop the flaps, and they'll come all out in one go. They won't extend completely if you're staying above 220, but as we get below 220, there won't be enough airflow to keep them retracted enough, so they'll extend fully as we make this turn. So I'm not really using much power in this approach, and I'm just managing where I think my aiming point is going to be by either making my turn a little bit tighter or a little bit wider, depending on what my descent rate is. I'm trying to aim round about where the road is for my aiming point, and as we start coming around on final, get myself established here, begin rolling the wings level, and just pitch attitude in. Round about here I can cut the power completely to idle, hold it up in a 3-point attitude, and then the plane's just going to touch down nicely on its own. Then we just hold back pressure, keep the tail on the ground as much as possible while we're applying the brakes and coming to a stop. And as long as you have the brakes applied and using that rudder to keep yourself moving straight and along the field or runway, you'll get that differential braking that'll help you stay nice and straight. That completes the tutorial for flying the Yak-9T. If you enjoyed it, be sure to become a subscriber, and feel free to join my Discord channel or check out the Patreon if you're interested in that. And as always, remember to fly safe and check your six.